That's going to take a new, fresh generation of leadership. I think it's going to take leaders with fresh legs. I see Josh Williams right there. Good to see you, my man. From Ron McCauley to Josh Williams, we got a new generation of leaders rising up across our state.
The second part of that is if there's disciplinary issues where maybe we have, instead of kicking a kid off the campus for racist comments or whatever, they can use maybe some DEI type of programming so that they could say, hey, this will help maybe remedy the situation and give you a better understanding of why one person would feel that's offensive. So
It was very interesting on the DEI portion that the sponsor of the amendment said that if a student got disciplinary actions for a comment or something they said on campus, that they could then take DEI classes, or actually said DEI programming, right, as a form of not getting disciplined. That's very interesting to me, since members, well, one particular member of the Democrat caucus, a white member who made comments towards a black member, just had to go under implicit bias training because of it. Like, that's very interesting.
Proceed with your point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I think that was out of line, and we want to get back to the bill and back to the amendment. Thank you.
Very good. Proceed with your remarks, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. They always say when you throw a brick in a pack of dogs, the one that you hit yelps. Facts hurt. I'm sorry. Facts hurt.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the woke revolutionaries in Ohio, the college students, a lot of whom are far-left communists, that have decided to protest, stage walkouts, march against an anti-DEI bill that has advanced to the Senate of Ohio. Okay, the state Senate is now considering SB 1, which is a bill in which Republicans say promotes free speech on campus while at the same time limiting diversity initiatives. Okay, and the students and the Democrats, they are boohoo, whining, and crying about this and spreading all types of false information about what this bill actually does. Take a look.
Well, students across the state are protesting the progress of Senate Bill 1 in the Ohio State House. The Advance Ohio Higher Education Act, which passed in the House yesterday, intends to protect free speech on campus and ban all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, courses, and mandatory training as well. So our Kai-Torque is at Kent State University. That's where more than 100 students protested against the bill today.
Senate Bill 1 is not the way.
Senate Bill 1 is not the way.
More than 100 Kent State University students standing in solidarity against Senate Bill 1 Thursday.
Kill that bill.
According to bill's sponsor, Ohio State Senator Jerry Serino, SB 1 aims to eliminate DEI programming, staff, consultants, titles, and spending.
This is what democracy looks like.
He said, quote, "My bill will return our public universities and colleges to their rightful mission of education rather than indoctrination. We also must return to teaching students how to think rather than what to think, and how to listen to opposing views with a respectful but critical ear."
Kill that bill.
The student protesters and the professors who joined them wholeheartedly disagree.
Senate Bill 1 is not the way.
What I feel most problematic about SB 1 is the fact that they're trying to erase history.
I think one of the things is the removal of the identity centers. Here on campus, we have a lot of those. Each of those would just either have to be taken off campus or just be funded entirely by something different, which is hard. Like, it's hard to find funding already for these programs.
The bill very clearly infringes on academic freedom of professors.
3 News reached out to KSU administration about the bill and demonstration, and a spokesperson said KSU upholds the First Amendment rights of free speech and peaceful assembly for all. After the protest, the students went to write letters to state lawmakers. We also reached out to Senator Serino, and he says he strongly supports the students' right to demonstrate, but asks how they can be against the free intellectual inquiry and equal standards that he's pushing for. SB 1 now goes back to the Senate for review.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? These students think that this bill is going to, quote unquote, erase history, okay? Because they have been tricked and fooled and led astray by the Democrats into believing that this bill is actually going to be beneficial towards them, particularly the so-called students of color. And that leads me to the actual debate on the bill that happened on the Ohio House floor, in which Republican Josh Williams made one of the most compelling arguments that I have heard against DEI from the perspective of a black person, right? A so-called person of color who, again, according to the white Democrats, is supposed to benefit from DEI. Because, again, the white liberals are doing it because they love the blacks, right? They love so-called people of color so much. Except, I think most reasonable black people, educated black people, accomplished black people understand how the push for DEI, okay, these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives actually hurt black people who have truly earned their positions in society or their company or an organization or institution. It hurts those who actually really have earned their jobs.
One of my colleagues earlier said, why are we afraid of the truth? Well, I'm not afraid of the truth, but about 90% of what I heard from my Democrat colleagues was untruthful as it relates to this bill. And I'll go through in minute detail. So, for instance, it was alleged that this will get rid of black fraternities and black student unions. Well, that means you didn't read the bill, because in line 772, it says nothing in this section prohibits a state institution of higher education from complying with any state or federal law to provide disability services or to permit student organizations, including fraternities and sororities. It's right there in the text. Again, individuals said that this was going to whitewash history and our ancestry, right, and our past. It was going to suppress free speech in the classroom. We were going to dictate what subjects we couldn't talk about. I would simply say, look at line 768, where it literally says nothing in this section prohibits faculty or students from classroom instruction, discussion, or debate, as long as the faculty member allows the student to express intellectual diversity. Equity is just a closeted way of trying to put in quotas. That's all it is. If you believe that a room full of 100 people has to have 13 black members because that's the breakdown of society and you only find 5 qualified candidates, how do you get to your 13-member quota? You have to drop the standard in order to get more minorities in the room. Well, what does that do for the 5 members that got there based off their merit? What does that do for me, who has a Juris Doctorate, my wife, who has a master's degree and has served in corporate rooms for 20 years? What does that do for me, who was already in the room? What happens is the other 87 members look at all of us as though the reason we're present is because of the DEI policies. You diminish my presence there based off my merit because you want to try to provide for a phantom land where every boardroom, every university, every classroom, every chamber should represent equally the diversity of the United States.
It is unfeasible and it's illogical, okay? Because, again, none of these individuals would advocate for the NFL or the NBA or any predominantly black institution, sports league, organization, company, whatever. Nobody would advocate for the NFL to have diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to their players, right? Because if they actually believed in that, then only 13% of the NFL should be black, right? In fact, the majority of the NFL should be white. Where are these people advocating for more white running backs and white quarterbacks, right? We don't see that. Where are all the people advocating for the white wide receivers, okay? Or the white NBA players who are underrepresented? Yeah, they're nowhere to be found because we all know that anybody advocating for that will look like an idiot, right? They would sound like an idiot, okay? So again, they do this stuff when it comes to higher education, corporate America, the government, right? Even though, again, they all know that is illogical. It doesn't make sense. However, it makes the white liberal feel good, okay? Even though it hey, there's an argument to be made. At least black liberals agree with this argument. They say it all the time that, hey, DEI doesn't really benefit black people like that. It actually benefits the white woman, right? We don't benefit like that. And I'm like, okay, well, if you really believe that, if that is true, then why are you boohoo whining and crying so much? I don't understand. Why all these black liberals boohoo whining and crying about Republicans essentially banning something that primarily benefits white women? Well, probably because the black bourgeoisie definitely benefit from it, for sure, okay, in my opinion. I personally say that DEI benefits the black bourgeoisie and white liberals, and regular, normal, everyday black folks don't really benefit. And it is certainly not beneficial for the straight white man, okay? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that's what DEI is about the most. It's about trying to hurt the straight white man while pretending as if it is helping minorities or everyday minorities when it's only helping the bourgeoisie minorities, okay, and white liberal women, which is also a point that this representative drove home during this House session that I thought was a very compelling point. Take a look.
I know what I believe DEI is, and I believe, truthfully, it is simply a way the left is using the minority community, the black community, to get their agenda in. That's what I believe, but don't let facts get in the way of my feelings. So let's just look. Black Enterprise magazine, a staple in the black community, wrote an article noting a study where nationwide, of all chief diversity officers in corporate America, how many of you think are black? 4%. 4%. 78% white. Well, let's look at the actual study that it cites. All right, you can come and see it by Zippa, looking at these professions. 76.1% white, 3.8% black. Well, let's keep going. In 2011, 3.78% of all chief diversity officers in the United States were black. 10 years later, in 2021, the time of this study, 3.78% were black. We had DEI policies the whole time. We didn't gain a percentage point. We didn't gain a percentage point, but during that same time, white women gained more in that same study. How do we know? Well, we can look at some other studies. Here's Forbes magazine, who actually, this is what the title is, who benefits from diversity and inclusion efforts? Well, let's see. It cited, according to another McKinsey study, white women hold nearly 19% of all C-suite positions, while racial and ethnic minority women hold only 4%. Overall, white women have benefited disproportionately from corporate DEI policies. Don't let facts get in the way of your feelings. Let's look at Crimson, Harvard University. When we were studying diversity, equity, and inclusion in administration and the admissions process at universities, they went and asked white students whether or not they supported DEI. Overwhelmingly, they said yes. But let's see why. White students at elite universities tend to view affirmative action favorably, most often because they believe diversity benefits them personally, according to the study published in the Harvard Graduate School of Education by Professor Natasha Warrico. Warrico interviewed almost 100 white students at Harvard, Brown, and Oxford. It was sometimes problematic because they saw affirmative action as something to benefit themselves, the white students, rather than a policy that was about justice or racial equality or access. Her research also demonstrated that white students typically believe they want admission to their respective schools based on merit alone. By contrast, many white undergraduates said they believe black and Latino students benefited from affirmative action, and that's why they were on campus. See, all that did was reinforce racial stereotypes.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, now again, we can debate all day about who DEI benefits the most, okay? Liberal white women or so-called people of color. I think the real point here that has been driven home is that these Democrats are not doing this out of the kindness of their heart, right? Like, they're not just trying to protect DEI because they love blacks, right? They love black people so much. That's not why they're doing it, right? Or so-called people of color, immigrants, or whoever. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because it is just another form of power and control, right? It's another form of power and control for them, okay? And if it didn't benefit them, then they wouldn't be doing it, right? But they're doing it because it benefits them, right? They don't care about whether or not it benefits the minorities because, in my opinion, again, regular, everyday, normal so-called people of color that are not a part of the college indoctrinated bourgeoisie, yeah, it don't really benefit those people, right? It doesn't benefit them at all, okay? So, you know, it's just funny because Democrats, they pretend as if they are fighting on behalf of so-called minorities, okay? And they weaponize the causes of the minority, okay? The hardships of the minority in order to benefit themselves, right? Just for more power and control. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the so-called minorities are just a tool for Democrats to push their agenda, right? Regardless of whether or not it benefits the so-called minority. And you see this so much, right? When it comes to certain policies, like, for example, abortion, that disproportionately negatively impacts the black population, right? Because black women disproportionately receive more abortions than every other demographic. So when you talk about the amount of black babies that are aborted every single year, that is severely limiting black population growth, right? And that in and of itself, again, is something that hurts the black community, right? But again, whose agenda is that, right? That's the agenda of the Democrat Party that is primarily ran by white liberals at this point, particularly white liberal women, okay? To be honest with you, that is who's running the Democrat Party.
So see this. White women with at least a college degree, the only group of white voters that really kind of is on the left politically, aligned with progressive causes, democratic politics. Give you an example here. It's that DEI question, right here, that we asked about in our poll. We had two big statements we read to voters. Basically, do you want to continue DEI programs or do you think they should be ended? And again, look at this divide here. White men, no degree, end it. White men with a degree, end it, they say. White women, no degree, end it, they say, by double digits. And then white women with a college degree, completely different by a nearly 40-point margin, they say, to continue DEI.
So I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, when you start to kind of piece things together in regards to certain Democrat policies, and then you look at the actual effect on the minorities, okay, that Democrats claim they're trying to protect, that they love so much, that they're trying to help out, and you see that, no, actually, this don't really benefit minorities like that, but it definitely benefits liberal white women, or at the very least, this is what liberal white women are pushing the most. I mean, again, look at any abortion rally, right? Any of these pro-choice rallies, primarily liberal white women, okay? But I'm just saying that when you start to kind of piece together these patterns, you know, it kind of makes sense, right? It kind of makes sense, and it's disturbing to think about, right? It's very disturbing to think about the paternalistic relationship that the Democrat Party has, particularly, again, a party ran by liberal white women, has with so-called minorities. Yeah, it is disturbing to think about. So, you know, hey, I just found this argument from this Republican in Ohio to be compelling enough to share. And let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.